right, we'll go ahead and get started. You can go, are you
We have started a recording. We're going to go on Facebook right now.
All right, sounds good.
Your leisure.
You can go ahead and move to Facebook. All right, we are live on Facebook. We will go ahead and get started. It is 6:30 for the Common Council regular meeting for today, Tuesday, February 1st. First, I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer. If you all would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
visible,
with liberty and justice for all. All right. Ms. Nyla, we'll go ahead and get started on the roll call. I know that Councilman Fitzpatrick is rebooting, so he may be joining. I see him here. So Ms. Nyla on the roll call.
Dabney.
Present.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Present.
Mr. Mack.
Here.
Ms. Deitch.
Here.
Mr. Don Przebalinski.
Present.
Mr. Paul Przebalinski.
Present.
Mr. Simmons.
Present.
Ms. Jagus.
Present.
And Ms. Tillman.
Present.
We have 9 present and no one absent.
All right. And just to clarify, I know there was a couple of emails that went back and forth before we get started. We are still under the governor's executive order and still have our city executive order. So we will follow the rules as presented by the state, and we can move forward with our Zoom meetings as such. Once we're away from the executive order, things will do another follow-up as far as the way we do business. So with that being said, are there any questions? I need a motion for the approval of the minutes for our Zoom meeting on January 18th.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Are there any questions or changes or updates to the minutes? All right, Ms. Nyla on the roll call.
Mr. Paul Przebalinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
Mr. Don Przebalinski.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
And Ms. Jagus.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
All right, thank you. Are there any reports of any standing committees? Any reports of any standing committees? I will just do a brief report that we did do a council workshop on meetings, agendas, and just the proper procedures for giving notice to the public. And we held that about a week and a half ago. I don't have the date in front of me, but the recording is out on Facebook. And if you want a copy of the presentation, you can contact the clerk's office. All right, with that being said, Finance Committee, Councilwoman Tillman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance Committee meeting met on January 28th, 2022, to discuss the claims docket for February 1st, 2022, funds number 2042 Riverboat claims, $19,711.83. EFT 0, funds number 2031 Board Development 0, EFT $120,000, total claims $139,711.83. There were some questions during our finance committee meeting where we discussed, as of course, the monthly claims, and under our new business, we discussed the MVH and the local roads and street funds. The finance committee did not make any recommendations for these claims at that time. Due to that, there were some questions in regards to funds 2031 of the $120,000 for the special events. There was also questions in regards to the funds 2042 Riverboat in the amount of $19,711.83, which was for the purchase of a 2019 2100C sidewalk snow vehicle. Also, in the discussions with the MVH and the local roads funds, there were some questions in regards to the MVH and local roads where there was approximately an actual balance of $593,000. And it was questioned, wanting to know if those balances will pay off the second matching funds for the community crossing grant. And that was discussed and explained by Controller Hoffmasters and with questions and concerns from Councilman Paul Prisbalinski. There was also some other questions that arose in regards to the repayment of one of the grants. The matching portion of the grant has already been paid. So we have to pay the difference of the grant, where we also had in attendance to discuss these questions and concerns was Yvonne Hoffmaster, City Controller, Angie Deitch, Council, Bryant Dabney, Council, Jeff Wright, City Engineer, and of course, Caleb for IT. And it was a few other things that was brought up and discussed. One of the other things was in regards to Controller Hoffmaster addressed Barker Mansion transferring back to the Barker family, and that there was little over $400,000 of a cash balance at the end of the year. And a resolution is needed from the council saying that these funds are dormant and these funds will go back to the general fund. Our meeting was adjourned at 12:02 p.m. And again, in regards to any of the explanations in depth detail, because there was a lot in our minutes, I also included, please refer to the Finance Committee meeting that was held on January 28th, 2022, which can be seen at the LaPorte County Access Channel. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Are there any additional questions? One thing I would like to add too is that we did receive some communications from Controller Hoffmaster in reference to those questions that you mentioned in the meeting, Councilman Dabney. And I'm going to allow, it was a lot going on in that meeting, so I'm going to allow any questions from the council at this time.
Yeah, real quick. I'm sorry. You recognize me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I know there was no recommendation because we needed additional information. And did you guys get that additional information that you needed in order to make a recommendation tonight?
I did not, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam President, I did not receive any supporting documentations in regards to the invoice for the SSV for the $19,711.83 due to Councilman Don Prisbalinski can elaborate on this due to that he is the one that had the conversations with Dan Landscaping and Lawn Service and with the mayor, to where it was conveyed to me that the purchase of this SSV was only going to be for $12,000, and I questioned why was there approximately $7,000 difference, because the invoice that that was presented to us did not indicate that, nor did it indicate that it was for any special parts or accessories for the snowplow.
All right, thank you. So what we'll do is we'll go on to the claims docket, and then we'll ask Controller Hoffmaster to provide any additional information at that time.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman.
Yeah, if I may, because I did have that discussion with the mayor, and I did have it with Councilwoman Tillman. We spoke about it middle of last week. Yeah, I think it was Wednesday we spoke about that. Because that's when I was out observing this new sidewalk plow that the city purchased. And come to find out is that the way I understand, it was originally $12,000, but the addition of the plow and the snow blower that goes along with this snow plow, that was additional. So that's why it's $19,000. You're paying for the snow plow blade and the snow blower that comes with the device, the riding device of it. That's why it's 19,000. Okay. But if I can ask a question now, because this has to do with the financing of this piece of equipment, is and I know we bought it from Dan's Landscaping. I just want to know that according to the city purchasing requirements for quotes and bids, that there's supposed to be per the rules for small purchasing, which also deals with capital equipment under $50,000, and in between $2,500 and $24,000, is that the method that we must submit written solicitation with detailed specific specifications to at least 2 different vendors for a piece of equipment like that. I guess since the mayor's on, if I can ask him that question, if that was done or not, and the purchasing policy was followed, I'd like to know that.
Yes.
This is Mayor Perry. Councilman Don Prisbalinski, the purchasing policy was not followed, and I'll recount the incidents that led to that. I contacted Dan Carabine of Dan's Landscaping, requesting to visit his shop to look at his snow removal equipment. He took me down through his shop. He's got an enormous amount of removal equipment. And as he was showing me this, it was a candid conversation. It was off the cuff. He said, "I will sell you this equipment for not $1 more than I paid for it." He said, "That's about $14,000. He didn't have the invoice with me. He didn't have the invoice with him. The equipment sat there with the snowblower attachment on it. The reason the price went up and the reason I bought it was because it was available 24 hours before we had expected a heavy snowfall. We had already priced equipment all the way up to the Wisconsin line, around Northwest Indiana. And because of the COVID situation, nothing was available. Right there, you and I at different times stood in front of a piece of equipment that we could have right there now to address our need. And I went ahead with it as an emergency purchase. We used some funds that were in place for vector control lawnmowers, which we will replace before next spring. The reason the cost was $19,700 and some change is because a condition of buying it was that we took the blade that you mentioned previously, plus the maintenance equipment, fan belts, lubricants, extra parts that normally break. Dan required that we buy that with the snowblower or with the piece of equipment. So that's how the price ended up $19,700, because we have the snow removal piece of equipment, we have the blower, the blades, and we also have backup parts for replacement.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation. Controller Hoffmaster, did you have something to add?
Yes, as the mayor said, we did have 3 quotes, and I am still pulling all of this together because this is also going to be on the agenda for the Board of Works meeting next week to put this out there that it was an emergency purchase, that it was done because of the impending snow. And this was a piece of equipment that was available. So this will be going to the Board of Works with the quotes that I believe were anywhere from, I believe, around $40,000 up to $70,000 were the quotes that we had received earlier last year. So I just wanted everybody to know that this is going to the Board of Works as per the policy for an emergency purchase.
Awesome. Thank you, Controller Hoffmaster.
Madam President, if I may add one thing.
Yes.
When I said we had no quotes, I misspoke. That wasn't deception. We have been looking for sidewalk snow removal equipment ever since Council Lady Tracy Tillman, her ordinance passed. We had no luck. So it wasn't like we had looked hard for a week and made this decision. We have been searching for weeks. It's multiple quotes, but no availability. So the purpose of getting the quotes was to figure out where we were at, what we were going to have to pay for this. And then all of a sudden, because of my request and my visit, there's a piece of equipment sitting there with less than 20 hours on it that's ready to go. So that's Paul Harvey would say the rest of the story.
Thank you.
Madam President, just one more request.
Yes.
From Controller Hoffmaster. I would like a copy of all the bid requests that were received on this type of piece of equipment from these other vendors that the city contacted.
Yep.
Thank you.
Of course, that'll all go out probably whenever the clerk's office sends out the things for the Board of Works.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I would like to have a copy of each one of the bids.
That's included in the package that we'll be sending to the Board of Works. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
And lastly, we did receive an email from Controller Hoffmaster on yesterday that gave us a copy of the section 2-411 of chapter 2 that established a restricted non-reverting fund for the special events that was introduced by Councilman Bryant Dabney. And it was filed August 5th of last year. So just to give you the FYI, we did receive that on yesterday. All right, moving on to the claims docket for approval. For February 1st, 2022, we have Fund 2042 Riverboat claims for $19,711.83 for the sidewalk plow snow blower. And then we have Fund 2031 from the Boyd Development and EFT for $120,000 for the special events fund. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Don Privilinski. Second by Councilman Mack. Any additional questions? All right, all those in favor? Mrs. Nyla on the roll. Call.
Ms. Tillman,
Nay.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Nay.
Mr. Mack,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jigus,
Aye.
and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Nay.
We have 6 in favor and 3 opposed.
All right, thank you, Miss Nyla. And what I will say is going forward, we'll do each fund separately and vote for them, because there could be, I just thought about it, there could be some, instead of grouping them together, we'll do them separately just in case with these explanations, there's one fund that you support versus the other. So we will do that in the future. Are there any reports of special or select committees? Any reports of special or select committees? Reports of city officers or departments? Just to note, at the next council meeting, Chief Dion Campbell will be presenting the crime statistics at our next council meeting. Any reports of other city officers or departments?
I think Mayor Perry's trying to speak. He's muted.
Thank you, Councilman. I'd like to make a report regarding the upcoming heavy snowfall that is predicted for the information of council and the community. We had a meeting of all key department heads this morning at 10:30. We laid out the emergency snow removal plan for the next 36 hours. We will, starting tomorrow, the senior center will be closed, and both lots 1 and 2 in Washington Park, which is the main parking lot, and Fedder's Alley will be closed until the snowfall is over. And we will commence, we will have another meeting Thursday morning at 8:30 for the second snowfall. We're supposed to have back-to-back snowfalls, and at that time we will we're going to do main arteries first, secondary streets, then alleys, then sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports of city officers or departments? Yes, Mr. Wright.
Yes, good evening. This is Jeff Wright, city engineer. And first of all, let me apologize. I just have absolutely no idea how to turn the camera on so you could see me. But as Ms. Tillman mentioned during her report, I attended the finance committee and tried to explain the best I could what happened with the CCMG grant. And I don't want to hijack the meeting tonight, but and I would certainly like to explain in detail if anybody wanted, a detailed explanation. I could do that one-on-one with you. And then just to summarize and reiterate, the grant that's entirely on my table. And I missed a procedural detail, and Michigan City has to forfeit the funds of that grant. We were awarded that amount, but we didn't receive those. We won't be able to receive those. And so again, I humbly apologize. The fault was mine, and I had a conversation with Mayor Perry this afternoon. And he's willing to accept my resignation, but he thought it might be best to get a reaction from the council regarding that. Like I mentioned, the error was mine, and I apologize for it. And the only defense I have is up until that time, I think I've done a pretty good job for the city. And I do have some projects in mind for the future. But before anything gets set in stone, it would be nice to hear from the council and to hear if you have a preference in the matter anyway. And if it's okay, I'll just stop there and answer any questions any of you had. And I look forward to any comments you might want to share.
President.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll acknowledge you just a second, Councilman Don.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. And I did see on the Board of Works agenda some that will be on the agenda, some items that put some internal controls in place. So yes, Councilman Don Privilinski.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Wright, everybody makes mistakes. And there are things going on presently that I think are a lot more, what you would want to say, volatile or disciplinary that aren't being looked at. I don't recommend that you resign, Jeff. All the dealings I've had with you have all been 100% satisfactory and everything. I think you're a great city employee. All right, there was a mistake that you made. We all make mistakes. We've all been there. But I don't see the need for you to resign because I don't think the city's going to find another Jeff Wright in doing the work and getting a response from the city council members like I've gotten a response from you. You've always been there. You've done 100% of what I've asked, and we've gotten along great. So I do not want to see you resign, Mr. Wright. Thank you.
Any, Councilman Bryant Dabney?
Real quick, something that just came out this afternoon. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it. A resolution is going to go before the Board of Works, and then eventually it'll end up coming back to the council. And there were some questions that were asked at the end of that resolution. There was an email attached that there still needs to be answers to those questions. So really, we don't have all the information. So I won't be, commenting one way or another right now, talking about whether somebody should resign. But I do want to stress the fact that I just recall, and I'm going back now to when our chief of police sends out a message or a fundraising letter in order to raise funds for certain things that were happening at the police department. They wanted to raise funds. This city was turned on its head by him sending out a fundraising letter. And this ate up a lot of time and space in the newspapers, on the radio, talk shows and everything like that. People were going on the radio talking about it. He was excoriated pretty badly regarding sending out a fundraising letter. And now we have an instance where we're going to be having $300,000 and some odd $1,000 that we'll need to cover to send back. But I just haven't heard that same kind of outrage regarding that. But I do recall, like I said, the chief of police was just out there sending out a fundraising letter, and he caught, I'm not going to say the word here in the council meeting, but he caught it for weeks. And so, I do want to hear some of the same outrage. But like I said, I'm not here to ask anybody to resign or anything like that. That is definitely an administration call. But I do recall that, when Chief Campbell sent out a fundraising letter, it just, everything broke loose. And we were going for weeks talking about that. And now we're going to be on the hook as a city for $300,000 plus. And I don't hear the same outrage. We have people that will go up in arms with Yvonne Hoffmaster about not sending out a report talking about the balances of the riverboat or the unappropriated balance, the unappropriated balances that are left. She forgets to send out that report and people go haywire. I hear about that, but I don't hear anybody now talking about this when we have actual $300,000 some odd that we're going to have to cover. So I just hope that we get some of the same outrage that we have with those little bitty incidents that I've seen in the past. If you can hear my voice getting a little bit more angry, I am. In the fact that, like I said, our chief of police, all he did was send out a fundraising letter and was excoriated about it. And that's all I have to say, but I'm not here to ask anybody to resign or make a recommendation to anybody to resign. And then, we still have all the facts that need to be collected. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dabney. Any other comments from any council members?
Madam President, if I may add an additional thought.
Just one moment. Let me make sure from the council, any additional council comments?
Certainly.
Yes, Councilman Paul. Yes.
Thank you. I want to say that Mr. Wright addressed the finance committee and explained it, what I thought was in detail of what happened. And he, you know, here's what I have to give Mr. Wright credit for, is that he admitted his mistake. Yes, we have to cover it, but also is like what Councilman Don Prisbalinski talked about, and I affirm that, is that Mr. Wright has always been up front. He's a very knowledgeable individual when you talk to him about road work or any type of construction dealing with the roads or other things in the community, sewer, water, things like that. But the main, I think what we should look, also, I don't think we should compare this with anything else. And the man admitted his mistake. The man has saved us a lot of money over the course of his employment with the city. And everybody should, or not everyone, but we should look at the fact that in 1 year, I believe the city paid out over $700,000 to engineering firms for doing and overseeing pavement resurfacing in our community and doing Pazer work. So I just got to say that I do not, absolutely not, want to see Mr. Wright resign or have any disciplinary action taken upon him. I think that his affirming his mistake and not running from a mistake shows the depth of his character. And I think that we should all appreciate that. And Mr. Wright, I appreciate that very much. It shows me a lot about your character. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And I'll make a comment here. I just don't believe it's up to the council to deal with resignations for the administration. And I know that we had several conversations in the finance committee, and I've talked to Mr. Wright, and again, I just don't think that's a matter. Just like with before, that was the administration's dealings with Chief Campbell and how he handled it. I didn't appreciate how it was handled, but I think that it's still all administrative. It's up to the mayor to make those determinations on his staff. Mayor, you had some additional comments?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to share with the council my thoughts on this. Mr. Wright and I talked several times today. I never knew Mr. Wright before I interviewed him and hired him as our city engineer. He was recommended to me, and I made the suggestion. I did not direct Mr. Wright to resign, and I would not fire Mr. Wright because that would cast a bad shadow on his future. The reason I threw resignation out for his consideration is because of my experience in the private sector. A mistake of that amount would immediately cost a person his job. But even the suggestion was an extremely difficult decision to make because the loss of Mr. Wright as our city engineer would be truly a loss to Michigan City. In the 2 years that he's been on our team, he has saved the city over $1 million in design costs by doing the design in-house. The mistake that Mr. Wright made was from inexperience. He has not worked for government before. He's worked as a contractor to government in the county, and was made because of his energy and ambition. He is probably one of the most ambitious people that I've met. He also, in addition to saving the city over $1 million in engineering costs, he recently came up with a plan that he consulted another professional engineer on, a plan to take the underground installation that's there, that's a part of the Lafayette Barker storm sewer, that's nothing more than empty pipe buried in the ground. We've got more than just the 78-inch section in the central part of town. We've got other sections. And Mr. Wright came up with a plan to take the other sections, tie them into the 78-inch section, tie that into a 30-inch line that has an outfall in the immediate vicinity, which would have taken that $13 million price tag that's projected to finish the Lafayette Barker stormwater system and put a major part of the system active.
I appreciate that, Mayor, but we're not in a trial or anything for Mr.
Okay, well,
Wright.
I'm just saying that for $600,000, we could have taken care of that $13 million project. And that's really important. I just wanted the council's thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And like I said, I look forward to the Board of Works meeting and getting those questions answered from the email that was sent out. All right, Mrs. Nyla, do we have any petitions? Ms. Nyla.
We have no petitions.
Communications.
Correspondence was received in the clerk's office on January 18th from Harris Law Firm PC regarding this letter of interest to serve as the Michigan City Common Council attorney. Correspondence was received on January 21st from Gidget Griffin regarding the Gun Violence Prevention Committee. Correspondence was received in the clerk's office on the 21st from City Controller Hoffmaster regarding the available funds in the MVH and local road street funds. Correspondence was also received on January 25th regarding staffing issues at Washington Park Zoo. Correspondence was received in my office on January 26th from Mr. Roddy McCormick regarding the request to change the social status of African-American males, organization representative for their Commission for Ministerial Association to Northwest Indiana Ministers Association. Correspondence was also received on the 25th from Pastor Kimberly Williams regarding serving on social status of African-American males commission representing Northwest Indiana Minister Association. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nyla. And I know several of these items may come up in council comments. I know there is an executive session in reference to the Harris Law Firm on February 3rd at 6 p.m. and you all should have received that. And again, the MVH funds were addressed at the Finance Committee meeting. I know that Councilwoman Jigas will talk about the Washington Park Zoo, I believe, and then Councilwoman Tillman with the social status. All right, our first resolution for the evening, Ms. Nyla.
Resolution by title only, amending resolution number 4737, authorizing petty cash and cash change funds. And this is introduced by Ms. Jigas.
All right, does the sponsor have any comments?
Yes, this is just simply to give each of the entities listed enough change so they don't have to keep running back and forth. If anyone's worked at retail, you know the frustration of not being able to give change to people. So this is just upping the amounts and then removing Barker Mansion because they are no longer under our control. So this just basically changes how much petty cash they have. The accounting has to be the same as usual. And, Ms. Hoffmaster will verify that everything is in the up and up.
All right, thank you. Are there any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Or comments from Controller Hoffmaster at this time? All right, comments from the council. Yes, Councilman Don Privilinski.
Yeah, question to the author, Councwoman Zygas. Why, for the park department, the Washington Park parking, why do they have a $7,000 beginning balance?
Well, when I talked to Shannon earlier, she said something like they have to keep giving out change because of the $15. They need fives. They need lots and lots of fives. And there's nothing worse for those people who are working at the gate to be stranded and not to have the five. So I think she did a calculation on how much change they get. I think they go over $3,000 a day in fives. So I think they're just trying to have enough money so that they can not be stranded without cash because, Horizon Bank closes at noon on Saturday. And so what are they gonna, do to get more change? So that's just simply a thing to get change.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional questions from the council? This is a resolution, so it will need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Don Privilinski and support by Councilman Bryant Dabney. Okay. Ms. Nyla on the roll.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Mack, Mr. Mack,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jigus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
and Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Nyla. The next resolution by title only.
A resolution by title only approving the 1-year performance guarantee savings report from Energy System Group ESG. And this is introduced by Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Yeah, and if I may, Madam President, I'd just like to read it real quick, verbatim.
Yes.
It's not very long, just so everyone has a good idea of what this is all about, because I know there's some new council members that never dealt with ESG. But anyway, whereas on November 20th, 2018, the Common Council on behalf of the City of Michigan City approved a guaranteed savings contract with ESG to install and construct numerous improvements to city facilities to improve their energy efficiency and operations. And whereas the council approved an amendment to the ESG contract to add solar panel installations at several city facilities to the project. And whereas under the terms of the ESG contract, including the amendment thereto, ESG guaranteed a level of energy and operational savings would result from implementation of the project as amended. And whereas, as required by its contract, on or about June 30th, 2021, ESG submitted its report verifying that the annual guaranteed energy and operational savings amounts for the project for the first year after final acceptance of the project by the council were achieved. And whereas the city engineer has reviewed the ESG report and on January 1st, 2022, submitted to the city council in his written determination, a copy of which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, that the report showed that the first year savings the city experienced from the project met ESG's contractual guarantee and recommended that the city council accept the report. And then we have the now therefore be it resolved, the city council of Michigan City, that the aforementioned whereas sections are incorporated herein as a fully set forth, and it approves ESG year 1 performance guarantee savings dated June 30th, 2021. Thank you. That's it in a nutshell, right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? All right, comments from the council.
Motion to approve.
We do have a comment from Councilwoman Dahlia Jigas, and we'll take the motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to know how many years of reports did they guarantee that we're going to be saving money? I mean, is this like a 5-year process, a 7-year process?
I believe, if memory serves me right, this is going to be at least a 15-year project. Yeah, it's going to be a 15-year project, guaranteed to hopefully save, $1 million, a year in the performance of this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And I'll entertain that motion from Councilman Gene Simmons.
I have a.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman.
I have a question on the amount of savings that Councilman Don Przybylski just put forward. I thought that this endeavor was financed by a bond issue, and that the savings would pay for itself over the term of the bond issue, not that we're going to save them. You just made a statement that we're going to save $1 million a year. That was supposedly $1 million over the life of this contract, correct?
Well, this project was not financed over a bond issue. I believe it was financed through riverboat funding.
Oh, okay. So is that savings, was there any language put in there that the savings every year would go back into the riverboat fund?
I would have to check that agreement and then get back to you, Councilman.
All right. Well, the reason I bring that up is that if we're saving money, then we should have some kind of resolution to put that money back in the riverboat fund. Just like, and I'll elaborate on that later on some other items. Thank you, Councilman.
Hello, this is Jim. Can I speak?
Yes, Attorney Meyer.
Number one, the project was not funded by riverboat funds. It was funded by 2 low-interest loans from a subsidiary of Bank of America.
Yeah.
Number
right.
2, I believe, Don, it was either 15 or 18 years over which this loan would be paid back. It actually is 2 loans because another one was added at the time of the amendment. And then number 3, the guarantee amount, and it's not $1 million a year. I don't recall off the top of my head what it is, but that amount is, number one, it's not cash. They don't give you a check. But in any event, the amount that the city saves would be sufficient to cover the cost of paying those loans, the principal and interest on those loans over the period of time that we're talking about. That's the concept behind this project. And I don't know if any of you read that report, so I know it's like 80 pages, but it gave a great deal of detail about where the savings were and how they calculated the savings, and they don't calculate dollars and cents in the sense of looking at the city's bank books. They look at the amount of energy and or operational savings in time, meaning hours or kilowatt hours or gallons of fuel, and then extrapolate dollar savings from that.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any additional questions from the council? Any additional questions? All right. Mr. Simmons, would you still like to make the motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Gene Simmons, second by Councilman Don Przybylski. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Mack,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Przybylski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jigas,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Przybylski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
and Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nyla. Next resolution by title only.
The resolution by title only approving submission of application for a grant for the city of Michigan City from the U.S. Economic Development Administration and supporting the local match for said grant. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch.
All right, I would like to relinquish the chair to Councilman Don Privilinski for this resolution.
Go ahead, Madam Chairman.
All right, so this resolution here is, and I'm not gonna read the whole thing in its entirety, but this is for a grant application seeking funding through the EDA, the Economic Development and Administration, for the extension of infrastructure of water and sewer to the 2020 annex property on the east side of the city. And Michigan City is requesting a commitment to match 20 to 50% of the project cost that is estimated to be at $1.4 to $3.5 million. And insurance, the funds will be committed to this project available and unencumbered. In the resolution, if you look at items 1 through 8, it talks about the grant and who will be responsible for managing the grant. It will be Controller Hoffmaster through assistance with Baker Tilly. The money would, it says depending on which grant is accepted by the EDA, will determine if the match is 20% or 50% of the project cost. And ARPA and or riverboat funds could be considered for this grant match. And one thing I would like to say is that all of the next items are going to be financial, and I don't plan to speak on them, but for this particular one, I think it's a good way to leverage funding by going through economic development through the EDA to secure some funding, but to also be able to leverage other pots of money. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that these are monies that we can use and that municipalities use to leverage to get infrastructure, water and sewer. This isn't something new, but we have 2 opportunities with the American Rescue Plan Act Economic Adjustment Assistance. That's an 80-20 grant, or the Economic Development Administration Public Works Assistance Grant, and that's a 50-50 grant. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Councilman Privilinski.
I have a question on this grant.
Before we do that, we got to go to the public.
Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry. So anybody from the public like to speak on this resolution? Controller Hoffmaster, do you have anything else to add?
No, not at this time. I can try and answer any questions that come up, but you explained that very well. Thank you.
All right. Any comments from the council?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may.
Yes.
On this application for this grant, which one are you looking at here? Because you also mentioned the ARP infrastructure money, and is that, you said that's a 50% match. So is there an application going out on that money also? So we're going to make a determination what we're going to get?
So they're competitive, and so there's 2, and so there's 2 different ones. It's the Economic Development Administration, American Rescue Plan Act Economic Adjustment Assistance that I hope that we would get. That's an 80-20 grant match, and the other one is the one that we normally go for, or that cities use, is the 50-50 grant, and that's the EDA Public Works Assistance Grant. that's 50-50. And Controller Hoffmaster, would you like to add something to that? I may have messed that up.
No, you didn't mess it up. As it was explained to, when we did a Zoom with the EDA, Clarence Hulse and Baker Tilly, as the EDA explained it to us, we can submit an application, and what they do is if they find that it doesn't fit in one of them, they'll move it to some other place. What this does is just gives us a broader spectrum, and a better chance of winning some funds. We are looking for a February 28th deadline to get all of the documentation to them, which is quite substantial, which is why we have commissioned Baker Tilly to help us. So this is one of the steps. This is a resolution from the Common Council is required as one of the grant documents that we need to submit.
When you, if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I have a follow-up question?
Yes.
When will we find out on this grant submission? Is it, do they have a deadline by what, or when they award? Is it in the grant application? That's what I was like to know.
We were told it was anywhere from 6 to 10 months that we would be notified if we were going to receive any funds.
And the
Okay.
deadline for the grant is March 31st. That's all full documentation for the grant,
Okay.
as stated in the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilwoman Jigas.
Yes, I think anytime there's an opportunity to get a grant, especially an 80-21, I'm all for it. We need to get the sewer out to the east side of the town, so I'm very much for it, and I would like to move to adopt.
All right, we have a motion from Councilwoman Dahlia Jigas. Yes, Councilman.
Support.
Wait a minute.
I had a question,
Yes,
Madam President. Yeah.
yes, Councilman.
You got a motion. You got a motion and support.
And we still can accept even after a motion and a second, we can
Right,
still.
you can still accept comments.
Yes,
Okay, so the city's requesting a commitment of a 20 to 50% match of the project, which is supposed to be 1.4 to 3.5 million dollars. And so where is the city going to find their financing? How's the city going to finance this project?
if you look in number 6, it says, depending on which grant is accepted, ARPA and or riverboat funds could be considered. So sounds like the 2 buckets of money that the city would like to, administration would like to consider are from those 2 buckets.
Okay, thank you.
We had, before, Councilman Paul, before I miss it, it was Councilman Dahlia Jigas who made the motion. Did someone second it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, thank you. And you got a
I want to
comment?
remove. Yes, I want to remove my second.
Okay,
Because the question that I have that is a burning question for me is that I believe that we should also consider using TIF money out there, since it's going to a TIF district, and one TIF district can loan money to another TIF district, and that's not in the resolution. Thank you. That's what we need to consider because of the amount of money and the pie on dividing that money responsibility up because of all of the opportunity that's out there with monies that we have. Thank you.
thank you. We have a motion and we don't have a second.
Support.
All right, Councilman Mack had his hand up to support it. Any additional comment? All right, Ms. Nyla on the roll call.
Mr. Mayor,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jigus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
nay,
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
and Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and 2 opposed.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nyla. Next, resolution by title only.
A resolution by title only, determining that funding for certain outstanding purchase orders should be encumbered and authorizing the city controller to encumber such funds. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch.
All right, are there any comments from the public? Any comments from the public on this one? All right, comments, actually comments from the public. Controller Hoffmaster, would you please elaborate on this resolution?
Certainly, thank you. These are the encumbered purchase orders from the ARPA funds that we encumbered from the money that the council allocated last year in the ARPA fund. And there are 2 riverboat purchase orders also on here. One of them is the legal for the Esplanade that the council appropriated last year for $175,000. And the other from the riverboat is to Hassan Associates, which is one of the engineering contracts that the council approved last year for $25,000. So the total amount we're asking to encumber is $1,959,714.02. This is also a requirement from the DLGF that we have a resolution from the council showing the purchase orders that we encumber.
Thank you, Controller Hoffmaster. And there was an Exhibit A that was attached to that resolution that had a list of all the encumbered items. All right, questions from the council? Yes, Councilman Bryant Dabney.
I was looking at the list of the POs that we're encumbering here, and I'm looking at the MCPD fleet vehicles, 416,000. It seems like that was done a long, long time ago. We're still having to encumber for that. That hasn't been paid out. That hasn't been executed. What? Do we have an answer to that? It seems like
Yes,
that's taking a long time.
the first lease we did was from the police department's operating fund that was executed, I believe, late spring. And we received those vehicles, I believe, late summer, early fall. These are 8 additional vehicles that the council approved in the ARPA plan.
And when did that? I'm sorry. When was that approved?
When was it approved?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know that's a hard tough.
November.
I believe the resolution was approved late September, early October. And then the additional appropriation was, I think we did these at the same time. It was like late October. The additional appropriation was passed by this council.
Yeah, it was either the second meeting in October or the first meeting in November.
Correct.
So the order hasn't been, or has the order been made?
Right, yes. We're in the process of receiving the vehicles, basically as we speak.
what?
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other questions from any other council members?
Yes,
Councilman Don Prespolinski.
Yeah, so the encumbered funds here that we're gonna be paying out, is this coming from the general fund? Because they're already encumbered? Where's this money gonna be coming from?
They're coming from the ARPA fund. So that was the plan that the council appropriated, either the last meeting in October or the first meeting in November. And then there are two of them coming from the riverboat. And that's from the 2021 budget that the council passed in the fall of 2020.
Which two are coming from the riverboat?
The legal one,
Haas and Associates.
they're the last two on the list. Clark Quinn, Moses Scott, and Braun for $175,000. That's the legal counsel for the Esplanade, and then Haas and Associates was one of the engineering contracts, and they're in the process of working on a project with city engineer Mr. Wright.
Thank you. Councilman Paul Privilinski, did you have a comment?
Well, I wondered about when I saw that list, you know, we're doing all this funding mechanisms, and maybe we're putting a cart before the horse, because we're going to be asked to, which I feel relates to this, on the car purchases, that we're going to be asked. I just heard on the news today that the county council is sending communication to all the taxing entities on getting a position on the tax that they're proposing for public safety. And I know that won't generate anything for a couple years, but we need to look at what we're doing with all the money, and can this money be, if that does pass, can this money that we allocate out of the ARP money, can it be regenerated back into the ARP fund to pay for other things? Is there such a mechanism as that?
I'll let Controller Hoffmaster, if she has an answer for that, if money can be, or Jim, taken from ARPA and be replenished.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That's something I would have to inquire on. I do know that if we had spent money someplace else before we appropriated the ARPA funds, we could replenish that, but I don't know if it goes the other way.
Can you check with Baker Tilly?
Yes, I will. I will send that out first thing in the morning.
Hello?
Yes, Attorney Meyer.
Yeah, if it's not spent, which is what I think Councilman Przybylski is saying, if it's not spent, it stays in the ARPA fund. This is just authorizes it to be spent. If it's not spent, it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, right. I guess the issue that I have is we're looking at doing this, and we're going to have money to replenish we might have money to replenish it. So that's why I'm brought that point up, that no one can say it was never brought up. That I think we need to look at how much money we have and what we're doing with our monies all the time. Thank you very much, Jim and Yvonne.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the council? This is a resolution, so any
Motion
additional?
to approve.
Move. So first by Councilman Bryant Dabney, second by Councilman Don Privilinski. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jiggis,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
and Mr. Mack.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hyla. Last resolution by title only.
A resolution by title only transferring the unused and unencumbered balance in the Barker Civic Center Fund 2070 to the general fund and closing the Barker Civic Center Fund 2070. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch and Mr. Dabney.
All right, does the sponsors have any comments?
Want to go? Oh, I go first.
I don't have any comments.
All right. This is pretty simple. All we're doing is going to be shifting funds that we had in the Barker Civic Center Fund. Nothing else is coming out of that account. The account is laying dormant, and so now we're ready to put those funds back into the general fund for the city in the amount of $408,000 and some change there. So that's what this is simply doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dabney. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? All right, comments from the council. Any comments? Yes,
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I have a question for you, Vaughn. What exactly was this in a building fund there, and how long was this money sitting there? Because it amazes me that almost $500,000 was sitting in a fund down there and just sitting there. So I know that we would spend over $100,000 every year for staffing and things of that nature down there. But was this some leftover money from a building project down there when we were in charge of the building?
No. This was the Barker Civic Center operating fund.
Right, so.
This paid the salaries of the employees there and the supplies needed for the daily maintenance of the house. Last year I think it was last year, the Barker family requested that we requested the house be returned to them. But in preparing the budget, we prepared their operating budget as we have since, I believe it was 1967-ish, maybe. I don't remember the exact year that the city, started maintaining the house. So because we funded the operating budget for their roughly $500,000 budget, so the funds were put in there to fund that. And now because we did not operate the house last year, these funds are all left over. So they got tax dollars in there, which I believe that was the only revenue they received last year, were the tax dollars from the tax rate that was given this fund when we prepared the 2021 budget.
So you're telling me that they had they didn't have a levy to put that money in the fund, did they?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they did.
That's how the city operated the mansion, was with the tax levy.
Yes, and we also gave and every year we gave them an allocation, I thought, to run their staffing in over $100,000. So you're telling me that this has been laying there for X amount of years? Because I don't remember giving them $500,000 a year.
No, this money is there because we did not expend their operating budget last year. But we funded it.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions, Councilman Prevalence, Paul?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how that money was laying there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Paul Prevalensky. Any other comments from the council? And this is our last resolution. Any other comments from the council?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilwoman Jigus,
Second.
second by Councilman Don Privilinski. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jigus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski, Mr. Paul Prespolinski. I think we lost him. Ms. Tillman, Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Mack,
Aye.
and Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
All right, I think he's having some difficulties. All right, Ms. Nyla, first ordinance on first reading.
An ordinance on first reading by title only, creating section 2-327 in the Michigan City Municipal Code to be known as the policy and procedure for declaring bad debt uncollectible. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch.
All right, are there any comments from the public on this ordinance? Any comments from the public? All right, I will ask Controller Hoffmaster to provide some information on this policy change.
Okay, thank you. This is, we need, before we can write off outstanding invoices, we needed to have a bad debt policy. So that's what this ordinance is doing. It's creating a section in the Muni Code and creating the policy to write off a bad debt. One of the things that we've been looking at are mowing fees that have been done over, I believe some of these are like 10 years old. And they're just sitting out there on the books. And we can't do anything with them until we have a policy. So, you know, in accordance with the State Board of Accounts regulations, we needed a policy. So with Amber's assistance, we drafted this to get this policy in the Muni Code. And then we can clean up some of these old outstanding invoices that we have reasonable belief that they will never be paid, since some of them go back, I believe, to like 2012.
All right, thank you, Controller Hoffmaster. Questions from the council or comments from the council? Yes, Councilman Bryant Dabney.
Just real quick, I want to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right. It's not, you have that to add Councilman Dabney to as a co-sponsor.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Council President?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to also be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, Councilman Paul Privilinski as addition. All right, thank you. Any other comments?
I think that's Councilman Don Privilinski.
Yep, Don.
I thought I heard you say Paul, Don.
I probably did.
Yeah, that's all right.
Councilman Don.
Just keep it straight, that's all.
Any additional comments? All right, this will be held over for second reading. Ms. Nyla, second ordinance on first reading.
An ordinance on first reading by title only, creating section 2-326 in Michigan City Municipal Code to be known as the capital asset policy. And this is also introduced by Ms. Deitch.
All right, are there any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? And Controller Hoffmaster, I ask that I see your hand up. You provide some background on this one as well.
Sure, I was trying to beat you to the line there. What this is we currently have a capital asset policy, but felt that it needed to be in the Muni Code also, and the current policy that we have needed to be updated with just some of the new rules and regulations that the State Board of Accounts has put into effect. So what this does is just outline the capital asset policy. It states useful life of different types of assets, it, defines the asset categories, and it also has a section in there on a policy for inventory.
Awesome. Thank you, Controller Hoffmeister. Any comments from the council? I think I saw Councilman Bryant Dabney. Did you
Yeah,
have
just want to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, we have Councilman Dabney added as co-sponsor. Any other comments from the council? All right, this will be held over for second reading at our next council meeting. Ms. Nyla, third ordinance on first reading.
Ordinance on first reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Park Concession Fund for the Zoo Big Cat Exhibit Expansion Project. And this is introduced by Ms. Jacobs.
All right, does the sponsor have any comments?
Yes, I do. I actually have two ordinances coming up relating to the zoo. And I prepared just a few slides to explain to people kind of a little bit about what's going on with the money. So I think Caleb's going to put those up. All right, great.
And when you do that, Councilwoman Jiggins, just make sure that you submit those before noon on Wednesday so that the council can have those in the future.
Well, these are excerpts from the packet you got last week.
All right, thank you.
Nothing new on here. I'm just highlighting some points because it was a multiple page packet. I think there were like 12 pages. So these are directly from it, copied and pasted.
Awesome.
So
thank you. I just want to make sure that when we're sharing documents that I know in advance.
Okay, so yes, this is, I can tell you the page number if I go back to my document, but this is just showing what is going on with the zoo attendance versus, time. So back in the year 2000, as you see, we had 10 full-time positions at the zoo and the attendance was 66,000. And as the years went on, the employees went down, and I have a little bit of explanation about that, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. So the employees went down and our attendance went up, but especially take a look at, 2000 compared to 2021. Our attendance is almost double, but we have 3 less positions that are full-time. So what happened, and my explanation was, this is what I heard. So around 2006, I believe there was a meeting, council members, the park board, the zoo, they all got together and they had to decide what to do because the zoo was operating at a close to $500,000 deficit. So they decided that they're going to allow the zoo to only go into debt, deficit by 250,000 or more. So as the price of, feed goes up and, utilities go up, the only way they could cut money is to cut employees, and that's what they did. However, the financial situation is a little bit better now. So, and here's the thing too, another thing, because we have only 7 employees now that are full-time, we have a very good chance of losing our accreditation. Next slide, please. So the accrediting agency said things like we have inadequate staffing. Our zoo contains 663 specimens, 107 species, and 15 acres, 6 full-time people. And there's safety rules in place. I mean, you can't just have the zoo open with, teenage employees that are seasonal workers. You have to have people trained with the animals. It's not just something that anyone could do. So they need at least a minimum of a full-time keeper. And the way I understand it, and I think Jamie's on here, she could talk about it too. I think we are at risk of losing our certification. Next slide, please. And so this is, this was in the packet as well, but it's pretty hard to understand what's going on here. And I kind of looked into it. So the way the decisions were made to see whether or not the zoo is profitable, if you look at the first 2 lines, it says revenues and expenditures for zoo operations. Well, those were always in the red. And even this year, which was a pretty good year, it's in the red because this is just revenues at the gate versus expenses running the entire zoo, feeding all the animals, all the staff, et cetera. But when you take a look at the concessions, and especially this year, so concession-wise, they made $190,000. However, in the past, no one would look at that as part of, the zoo finances. They'd say, well, no, it's 65,000 in the hole. Well, not this year because they made profit 190,000 from the concessions. And then Shannon Eason, our assistant superintendent, did a calculation on the parking. And it was she did it very kind of like, just very conservatively, how much parking came from zoo traffic only. So she eliminated all LaPorte County people and all Michigan City people because she thought those guys had stickers. They do have attendance figures on, who attends outside of LaPorte County. And so, she did averages, whatever, and she figured out that this year, $282,000 came from zoo parking. So in fact, next slide, Caleb. So if you take a look, next, it's all right, it's the same thing. Yeah, so if you take a look, I mean, when you add these numbers up, the zoo is in the black by 507,000 this year. And this was a great year. I mean, part of the difference, 2020, you can't really look at, I don't think, because of COVID, but 2021, we had a great year, but we are understaffed. And, we could probably use even more people, I think, at the zoo, but that's not for me to say. Right now, the resolution, not this one, but the next one coming up is going to talk about an additional zookeeper. But I want to point out the 190,000 from the concessions. So that's what the ask is going to be, because the cat house and the zoo, we can turn off the PowerPoint now. That's about it. Thank you. So the cat house and the zoo, they got funding from all kinds of sources, and maybe Jamie can talk about that. But they did fall short because prices went up, et cetera. I mean, they really, couldn't get it done. So they're asking to move some of that concession money they made into a fund to help fund the big cat house. And so if I said anything wrong, perhaps Jamie can fix it. And I'm not sure if she's on there or not, but
she is. So
right.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Shiga. So any comments from the public? And I know that we do have some people from the zoo that are with us tonight. If they would like to speak, now would be a good time. And then when council comments, they can ask questions as well. Hey, you got a whole group of you. Good evening, y'all. Any questions from the public? Any comments from the zoo staff administration?
Go for it.
All right, well, I'm going to go to council comments and see if they have any questions for you. Yes, Councilman Don Bulinski.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor to this ordinance. And just a couple of comments after reading the information that I have is I guess I'm kind of alarmed that we got that report from the the federal government on their 2019 inspection of the zoo. Yeah, or the Zoological Association of America. And, it says, one concern shared by the inspection team and the accreditation committee is the inadequate staffing at Washington Park Zoo. The staff is not adequate for the size and composition of the animal collection and the care required. The footprint of distribution of the collection housing also added to present staff challenges. And then it goes on to say, how things are, they got 663 specimens, 107 specimens on a footprint of 15 acres. And that, what my concern is, and why I read that, is if we knew that there was a concern back in 2019, why are we addressing it in 2022? That's 3 years. To me, that's putting this group of people in harm's way by not having the zoo adequately staffed, knowing that it should have been staffed, because that's what the concerns are. That's what the concern was in 2019. I don't like when that type of management practice is, incorporated or being used. This should have been brought to the city council back in 2019 to get this zoo staffed up to where it needs to be within requirements of the federal government. You know, are we dealing with OSHA regulations also here? I don't know how the OSHA fits in with zoos, but I know if OSHA would step in and say, hey, you need 20 people to do this job. We told you to do that 3 years ago, but you still haven't done it. I think you might be getting fined by the federal government for doing that type of management. So I didn't like that part of this information. And that's why and I'm going to ask the council that we need to get this staffing up to where it needs to be for the safety and concern of the employees that work at the zoo, because they're the ones that have to deal with these animals 365 days out of the year. They have to go into and deal with the tigers and the bears and all these big animals that, you know, I think there's supposed to be 2 per cage or 2 people in the house when they're dealing with these animals. And if they're only doing it with 1 person right now, I'm going to tell you, you don't do that. We cannot do that. And we just need to get this staffed up and do what's right for these people that work there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Don Privilinski. And just as we're making our comments, realize and I'll be pretty relaxed on comments for these 2 since they go hand in hand. But the actual there's another ordinance right after this that is specific to adding those additional head counts. Right. This one is definitely for the Big Cat Zoo exhibit.
Yeah, Big Cat, yeah.
Just to make sure that everybody knows that they don't confuse them. But I would like to be added as a sponsor for this one as well. And I think Councilman Bryant Dabney had a comment.
Exact same thing, Angie. Wanted to be added as a sponsor. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Councilwoman Jiggis.
Yes, and and I didn't know what to do because their financing really has to do with both of the ordinances. So I just kind of thought I'd get in the beginning. So they do have some money because they did a great job on concessions this year because they had incredible numbers, but they want to use some of that money to just finish up that Big Cat project, which looks like it's really close to being a goal.
Any additional comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman Paul Privilinski.
Yes, as I'm looking at this, I was wondering if since this is a capital project, was there any discussion with having the using TIF money on it? Because I do know that the TIF area encompasses all of Washington Park and our beach areas. So I believe that we need to look at all our funding sources and possibly not stripping the funding, but making sure that there's funding there so we don't have run into the red at any time. Because didn't we just transfer money within the park system of we were told they had the best year ever because we increased the parking fees down there? Well, maybe we need to look at allocating some of that funding in doing something in an ordinance form that money is provided. But I think that we allocated money and there's money sitting around to get this project done. And so at this time, I am going to make a request that this be tabled on first reading till our next council meeting to get some of these questions answered through the park department and through our through our controller's office on a funding mechanism for this. Thank you.
We have a motion on the table. Is there a second? All right, there is no second so there's no second to table this. Any additional comments from the council? Councilman Mack, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just really quick. Mr. Fitzpatrick was before me too. He had that little hand up.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to recognize that. But just a couple just bullet points. When I hear these great things that Dahlia, that slide showed, the growth that came out of that 1 year is just phenomenal. You don't see that in many other private or public sectors like that. It would be an investment. If you see that type of growth, and we know what's coming, the problems we've had at the beach with parking where we had to raise the prices and we still had maxed out on it, we could take care of a lot of underperformance with people. And with the topic we're talking about, the big cat, you know, increasing the quality of our offering with the animals. It's just no reason for us not to aggressively go toward the future and see how big and nice and great of a diamond we can have with a zoo. We've got a great thing going. It was great when I was a child, and we've got an opportunity to get in front of this right now. So I'm all for it. Thank you for that information, Dahlia.
All right, Councilman, thank you. Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one quick question. I don't know if someone from the zoo can answer this. What was the main driver for that increase in concessions this year or this past year? Thank you.
Hi, John. So the main driver was the gift shop. We sold out of everything that we possibly could put into the gift shop this year. The people were interested in purchasing anything and everything. I had stock that was like a couple of years old, and I put it out and it would fly off the shelf. So the gift shop just did insanely good for us this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? And I will make one. The Redevelopment Commission at our meeting on January 24th, we did approve additional funding for the Big Cat exhibit and have made significant, I'm trying to get the numbers right now so I can tell you, I'm trying to go through my notes, but there were monies. But one thing I would like to say is just congratulations to the staff, because they went out and found additional monies with the increase in cost over the last 2 years with COVID and construction costs to get this done, which is a great exhibit. But the Redevelopment Commission did approve additional funding at the last meeting. So I did want to share that. I will have to look up the information to provide that in council comments. Any additional comments from the council? Yes, Councilman Gene Simmons.
I just want to interject that they also received $12,000 donation from one of the owners of the Super Boat race back in the summer.
Yeah, that's correct.
Which was great.
All right, thank you. Yes,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman.
Yeah, I have a question about what was the problem with the Redevelopment Commission picking up the total tab on that? The remainder of the balance on the cat house.
You can ask that question of the chair or Skylar, but just like with anything else, if it's presented that way.
That's the way it was presented in a certain amount?
That's what was presented to our board, and that's what we voted on. And it was a significant amount. I wish I could tell you the exact amount, but I will before the end of this council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any additional comments? If not, this will be held over for second reading at our next council meeting. All right, Ms. Nyla, our next ordinance on first reading.
Ordinance on first reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the park operating fund for an additional full-time zookeeper. And this is also introduced by Ms. Jagus.
Yes, comments from the sponsor.
Yes, so again, they're not even asking us for additional money. They're just asking to move money that they have in different accounts so that they can fund this additional zookeeper, which we desperately need. And I know I'll be willing to think about adding another ordinance to hire some more help, because I do think they need more help down there. But this is crucial. So they've got money. They just want to be able to move it from one fund to another. So that's how I understand this. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments from the public? Comments from the public? All right, comments from the council? Yes, Councilman.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Don Privilinski, then Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick, then Councilman Bryant Dabney.
Okay, yeah, I have a question for Jamie from the park, from the zoo. There you go. Yeah, what accounts, you're taking money from other accounts and it doesn't show us what accounts that's coming from. What accounts are you taking the money from? And are you gonna be back at the end of the year asking the city council for money to fill in those accounts?
I think Shannon's on.
What accounts is this money coming from?
I think Shannon's on the online too. As far as I know, we were taking some money from our seasonal balance, but I'm not sure the remaining balance is coming from her office.
Controller Hoffmaster has her hand up to speak.
Yeah, this isn't coming from any accounts that are currently funded. This is coming from the unappropriated balance of the park operating fund. So they're not taking money from any place else that's been budgeted. They're asking for additional monies to be budgeted. So this comes from the unappropriated balance
It's in here.
of the park, which is with the numbers right now as they are, is about $800,000.
I got,
And then also, with this type of request, why wasn't this brought up during budget time? Why is it brought up shortly after, we're into February? I mean, we knew that this was going on for 3 years. Why wasn't this brought up during budget time where, we could have talked about it then, taking care of it back then, instead of waiting until now? I guess that question's it's not for Jamie, because Jamie just gives her budget and hopes she can get what she can get. But I guess that question's for Controller Hoffmaster. Why wasn't that brought up during the budget time?
We budgeted what the park requested.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to ask, how many zookeepers are there currently, and would one additional be sufficient? And the second question would, what are those daily tasks for the zookeeper? Just for the public knowledge. Thank you.
We have 5 full-time keepers. We try to have support staff, which is our, what they call seasonal staff. The problem is we're not getting applications we used to get to have the support staff. There's also limitations on how many hours they can work per year. And because of that, we cannot train them into those dangerous animals. But a keeper's job range can be from animal care to painting, groundskeeping, policing the zoo. We need about 4 full-time, 4 staff members a day just to do the basic animal task. And that's with nothing else happening. No school groups, no deliveries, no animal emergencies, no weather emergencies. Like Don said, we work, all year, holidays included. But yeah, and we, it's after hours, things always pop up. So we just need more staff to making it work now. But we're spending most of our time making sure we don't have any safety issues than what we're spending on improvements and getting ready for opening. And that's just not how we want to continue operating to improve the zoo for the future.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, Councilman Bryant Dabney.
Just want to be added as a co-sponsor, and then also give thanks to all of the folks that are working down there at that zoo. They're doing a great job. A great job.
Agree. Yvonne, Controller Hoffmeister, did you have something else to add? I see your hand up.
Oh, nope. Let me take
Okay.
it down.
All right. Councilman Paul Priblinski, did you have something?
Yes, I got a question for Yvonne. This appropriation is out of the new money, right? Is this money, any of this money on an unappropriated balance from last year? Because you didn't reconcile the money yet, right?
Yeah, this is exactly the money that's left from last year.
Okay.
That's
So
what the
now-
unappropriated balance is.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. Thank you. And so now, also, the park department gets 2 tax settlements a year, don't they?
That is correct.
Yeah. In last year they got 1.6 million, correct?
That sounds about right.
Right. So, in conjunction with what Councilman Don Prisbalinski is asking his point of view and pursuing that, on the same line is that I believe that we need to look at this, and I have questions in my mind why it wasn't presented at that time. So now you actually have extra money in that budget going into this year because that money that you're appropriating is from last year. I just want to clarify that with everybody so they understand what's going on here with this transfer. It's last year's money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Paul. Councilman Don Priblinski.
Yeah, just one more comment on this. I know that we're looking for one zookeeper.
Thank you for calling 219.
Oh, hold on 1 second, please.
Yeah.
You can't come to the phone right now.
Madam Chair, I don't know if you noticed, Councilwoman Tillman and Councilman Mack had their hands up as well.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep up. So we'll let Councilman Don finish.
I'm back. I'm
right.
I'm sorry, I had to shut the phone off.
All right.
But anyway, with that being known of this $800,000 and the unappropriated balance being brought from 2021 into 2022, and the zoo's going to be getting another tax settlement. So right now we're looking at $800,000 for a zookeeper at $73,000. I don't know why the park department isn't asking, for 2 zookeepers and staff this up to where they need to be staffed. I know that's not what we're talking about right here. I'm just making that a comment that if we want to do the right thing, let's staff it to where it needs to be staffed. Because to me, the funding is there. There's $800,000 there. So if you get another zookeeper, all you're going to do is take another $75,000 out of that, and you're still going to have, if you take 2 zookeepers, that's $150,000. You still got $650,000 out of the unappropriated balance coming from 2021. Just a comment that I hope some folks listen to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tracy Tillman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. President, I would just like to know, for the full-time zookeeper, do they require any special training or skills to be a zookeeper or qualifications?
We use, basically, it'd be nice to have someone with biology degree, zoology degree. But for us, which is a small zoo, we like to try to promote within first, because that hands-on training, you just can't beat that, especially when we're such a small staff. If people are willing to stick with us and to learn the skills hands-on, we try to promote them first. But having education never hurts, and it's a continued education. The job never ends. We learn something new every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilman Michael Matt.
All right, real quick, I want to be added as a co-sponsor to this one also. And I also want to thank all those people in that room that are doing a serious job taking care of animals while understaffed. No one could have foresaw the post-COVID rush, but now that we see it, now that we know what our summers are going to be like, I'm looking forward to an aggressive staffing proposal that could set us for a destination. I mean, you know, when you're sitting on a good business opportunity, a good educational opportunity, we should be maximizing, and it comes with the people. So, you know, I've always had this idea we should be sending our own 7th, 8th, and 9th graders to our zoo before it even opens to the public, like a soft opening. We've got such education that we could be giving our children just privately with a great staff like that if it's staffed up. We can be just doing so much more. We got to have a vision of what we can do, not look at last year's budget and make an opinion of, well, we can't do this. We can look forward to the future and start planning on some stuff and adjust on the high end instead of planning always on the low end. So thanks you again, you know, maximizing the gift shop. If you can make all that money selling 2-year-old merchandise, what could you make by some creativity? If we let you guys creativity run, I'm not creative, but how much more could be made? It got to be at least double. Just my 2 cents. So thank you guys for all that. And you got a fan here, and I think you got a few other fans. We just want to do it the right way, but we're sitting on a gold mine there, and I would love to see us, you know, try to maximize it, push it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Matt. Councilwoman Jigas.
Yes, so to answer Councilwoman Tillman's question, I did include, there was a job description in that big packet that I sent last week. But they also asked to get what do they call this, zoo maintenance craftsman, and that's not on this ordinance at all, but that may be upcoming. A specialized person to work on maintenance, and maybe they can address that too while they're on here. Can you tell us about that master craftsman, zookeeper?
Yeah, that's the same position that we need, being a 93-year-old facility. Things break down all the time, just like owning a home. So it's tough to find a person with the skills we need, paying just above minimum wage, and then expect them to come back each year or to be laid off 6 months without getting unemployment. So it definitely needs a full-time position added to it. So we hopefully be back in June for next year's budget. Right now we use a lot of volunteers and the park maintenance staff when they can squeeze us in. But with all the jobs that they have too, it's hard. And we have a long honey-do list of tasks we want to get done.
Thank you. Any additional questions from the council? Yes, Councilman Gene Simmons.
I too would just encourage them to bring the zoo up to fully staffed per Dahlia's request. Listening to this sounds like our team down there is almost at risk. We need to fix it.
Thank you, Councilman.
Or should I say support it?
Thank you, Councilman Simmons. I would like to be added as a sponsor, co-sponsor as well. And just to add, at the last redevelopment commission meeting, we approved $100,000 towards the Big Cat exhibit. And on September 13th of last year, we approved $250,000 to the Big Cat exhibit for a total of $350,000 to the Big Cat exhibit. I just wanted to update the council that was the commitment over the last 6 months. It's been $350,000 from the RDC. All right. We will hold this over for second reading at our next council meeting. Thank you for all the comments, everybody. Thank you to the zoo crew.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. All right. Moving to new business now. The Common Council has one appointment to the tree board that expires. This is FYI, March 15th. The incumbent is Laura Henderson. The appointment is made by the Neighborhood Association. Have we received anything, Ms. Nyla, from the Neighborhood Association?
Well, let's see. And this is for which one? The tree board?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have Rodney McCormick. And
Well, this appointment is made by the Neighborhood Association for the tree board.
right. No, I haven't. Someone usually on the council reaches out to them. And I have not received anything.
Okay, so this is a notice to the public that there is an expiration March 15, 2022. The incumbent is Laura Henderson, and this appointment is made by the Neighborhood Association based on the ordinance. So that's an FYI. The next,
Madam Chair.
Yes.
What neighborhood association is that?
I knew you were going to ask that.
I think it's Elston Grove, but I just wanted to verify.
You're right. You're correct, Councilman. That's Elston Grove.
Councilman Dabney, would you feel free, would you mind reaching out to them in the clerk's office if you would reach out to the Elston Grove Neighborhood Association to see if they're going to put forth a nomination? The incumbent is Laura Henderson. Because to get it on the agenda, we would like to have that by next Wednesday before noon. Thank you. The next FYI, so this one is, we all received correspondence. This is for the appointment to the Michigan City Fire Merit Commission. Mr. Ricky Jackson sent us a letter. His term ends at the end of this year. So this would be a replacement. Anybody who would be interested in being on the Fire Merit Commission, that you will need to fill out a council form, board and commission form, and have it turned in no later than noon next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. So the 9th. And if the council desires, we will do nominations and the vote that night, since it's a resignation and it's an empty seat. So anyone in the public who is interested should get that in by Wednesday of next week by noon. And again, that is for the Fire Merit Commission. And just to add a little bit to that board and commission handles testing, hiring. They put in a lot of work and effort. They grade tests. They're there for the physical agility. It's a board that is a working board, just like the police commission. So if you have the time, for it, it does take a lot of work. So I just want to stress that when you put your application in, this is a group that is on the hook to do a lot of different things. So just FYI. Unfinished business. The council has the following appointments to the social status of African-American males. We have minority health partners. I know the Ministerial Alliance Association, the verbiage on what their name is, we'll deal with that. And then we have Michigan City Area Schools, and then we have the NAACP, which had a resignation. I know that we received a correspondence from Kimberly Williams, who may be out in the online. But Ms. Nyla, have we received any letters other than Ms. Williams?
No, we have not.
So we have not received anything from the NAACP,
No.
from Michigan City Area Schools, or from the Minority Health Partners?
No.
All right. But we have from the Ministerial Association. Is Ms. Williams on? Pastor Kimberly Williams. Yes, I would. Please, Ms. Williams, if you would like to make a comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, hello, everybody. I hope you stay warm, get home. Oh, you're already at home. You're on Zoom. Before this snowstorm, I would just like to say that we sent in a letter, and I will be taking over Pastor Jakar's position on the social status committee. And like you said, there was a little discrepancy in the name, but we'll get that all settled.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. So I would entertain a nomination for Pastor Kimberly Williams.
I nominate Pastor Williams.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mack. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman Don Privilinski. Does anybody oppose having the vote this evening? Since it's past due. All right, Ms. Nyla on the roll.
Muted. Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Ms. Jiggis?
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Tillman?
Aye.
Mr. Dabney?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Mack?
Aye.
Ms. Deitch?
Aye.
And Mr. Don Prespolinski?
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Pastor Kimberly Williams.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to open up for public comment. Are there any, Caleb, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak this evening?
We have no hands.
Really? That's all right. No comments from the public. All right, council comments. Council comments. Any comments from the council? Yes, Councilman Don Privilinski.
A few comments. First of all, I want to comment on the first attempt by the street department to clean Franklin Street and Michigan Boulevard during our last snow event that we had with this piece of equipment that was purchased. And I think that the street department did a very good job. It was a learning experience, and it's going to be a learning experience. And I know that Sean is going to be trial and error with different pieces of equipment to see what's most efficient for the city. But I can tell you by doing this work that people are not walking out in the streets. They're walking down the sidewalks like they should be. And I'm very proud to be a city council member and to be one of the members that voted for it and sponsored that ordinance. So it'll be getting better as time goes on. The next thing, because I reported on it at the last council meeting, was the bill that came out of the State House, which was State Bill 1077 with the handguns and not having to have permits for handguns. Well, I just want to thank, and I don't know her personally, but I want to thank State Senator Liz Brown, that she was the chair of the committee that after she heard the bill, she did not let it go to the state Senate.
Yeah.
So that was, I want to thank her for that. And finally, I want to thank Dawn DeBold coming out of the assistant city clerk. She has moved on to the police department now, and she's out of the clerk's office. But Dawn, if you're listening, I just want to thank you for all your dedication, your professionalism, and friendship that you had, and the wonderful greeting, smile, and may I help you all the time with whatever you needed out of the clerk's office. So I just want to say thank you very much, Dawn. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Don Privilinski. Any other council comments? Yes, Councilman Bryant Dabney.
Yeah, real quick, regarding the ordinance with the cleaning of the sidewalks that Councilman Don Prespolinski just mentioned. We really need to consider the equipment. I know we went and bought something for about $19,000 or so. when the estimates of what would actually be needed, those Kubotas was much higher than that. From what I saw, I believe, and what I heard rather, from people that were operating that, is that thing is where the rider is actually out in the elements while they're doing that, riding to clean the sidewalk. So to take a ride all the way down Franklin Street, all the way down Michigan Boulevard, front and back, with somebody being out in the elements is probably not the smartest thing. So we really need to think about getting the proper equipment for these guys to do it. One person said it's almost a residential vehicle to be able to clean something out in front of your house, but it's going to be rough, being sitting outside without an enclosed cab, to be riding up and down Franklin and Michigan Boulevard trying to clean the sidewalk. So hopefully we can come together as a council to make sure we get the proper equipment for them to do this the right way, with the intention of cleaning those sidewalks. So they can really, really, get this done, and we can protect our workers out there.
Thank you, Councilman Dabney. Yes, Councilwoman Dahlia Jenkins.
Hi there. I just want to talk a little bit about, we're having a vaccination and COVID testing event at the Salvation Army. And thank you Caleb, for putting that up there. So starting, unfortunately, tomorrow during the snowstorm through Saturday, no appointment is necessary. You can just walk in. It's open from noon to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Saturday at the Salvation Army on 12th and Franklin Street. And vaccines are there, rapid PCR tests available. They'll do the kids 5 and older, Moderna. So all the information is up there. I do have this up on my website, but they're having an event right here downtown in Michigan City in Salvation Army. So I just wanted to let you know it's still here. It's still not too late to get vaccinated because we don't know what the future holds. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional council comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman Paul.
Thank you. I would like to make a comment on reverting back to some questions that I asked and about the finances. And I think that we should be aware of the finances. And that's one thing that I try to bring out to the other council members about, just like with this money appropriation that we have in front of us tonight, this money and where it came from, and it's last year's money. And I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't spend money, but you need to know where the money came from and where it was going and how much you have in the pot. So I just want to make that point because I didn't appreciate some of the comments that were made about, I'm not trying to nickel and dime. I'm personally looking at the money so that there's money there and why things weren't brought in front of us earlier. And I just think that you need to know where that money's coming from. So also, we have another issue coming in front of us, that this LOA tax that they want to increase it to. So I guess the county council is going to send us every taxing entity in the county they want a enabling resolution passed by the communities that are going to benefit from the LOA tax. Well, so be it. So that's going to be coming in front of us, and you need to start thinking about how much money we need. I'm going to try to get some information for that and have get some kind of meeting together with the finance committee on looking at this and how much money it'll generate and what we could use the money for and things of that nature. But also, I tonight want to thank all the first responders, all our emergency service workers, which includes EMT, first responders, the police, our healthcare workers who are in the front lines with this pandemic, with COVID, and go to work every day to deal with giving us services. I was ill last week and got medical attention, but as I was receiving my medical attention, I just thought that here these people are helping us, going at risk every day when they report. So I just want to let people, remind people that they are essential, they're very important, but they are our heroes. And I think that I just want to give some kudos to them. And just like I will say concerning COVID, if you feel ill, get medical attention right away. Do not wait. Don't wait an extra day. So there's guidelines that people don't talk about that you don't hear every day. And last week I was getting what they call a infusion. And you have a timeline that is between when you get tested to a 7 to 10 day window. So anyway, yeah, we can get vaccinated, but we still have to deal with it. And we still have to deal with just if you feel ill, get to medical attention ASAP. Thank you, and Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Paul Privilinski. Any other comments from the council? All right, I have a couple of items. So just a reminder that there was an executive session that was sent out for Thursday for the council at 6 o'clock. Also, there is another boards and commissions workshop on February 23rd for Zoom at 5:30 to cover Robert's Rules of Order, and also to allow Controller Hoffmaster to talk a little bit about accounting and accounts payable for those boards that receive pay. And lastly, one thing that I shared on the at the Finance Committee meeting is that anything that's financial, I would like Controller Hoffmaster to send that directly to the Finance Committee to put it on their agenda so that those things can be covered on their agenda, regardless if they are already on the council agenda. You don't have to wait for it to be on the agenda for it to go to the Finance Committee. I know there was one additional, I think, ordinance or resolution that was submitted that wasn't on this week's agenda, but they do need to go to the Finance Committee so that we can have that on their standing agenda before every council meeting. So with that, I will entertain, safety, please, everybody. We got 2 waves of snow that says that it's coming. So anywhere from, I've seen anywhere from 5 to 20 inches over the next couple of days. So please stay safe. I know, as Councilman Paul Privilinski shared too, we have our first responders. I know that during storms, everybody, are home, and we have some people who have to be on the road that are first responders. So again, I just, send positive thoughts to those workers and support them in any way we can. So I entertain a motion. Oh,
Madam Chairman, yeah, just one more comment, and I know that we were going to bring it up, is when that the ordinances and resolutions that go out Wednesday morning, remember, Madam President, you were going to talk about that. So if you'd like to talk about that.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. Councilman Privilinski. So yes, for our ordinances, for sponsorship of our ordinances, we, waiting till having them on Wednesday to get a sponsor is probably too late to get them to the council members. I know that several of us, stepped up to do that, but we really should. And I shared at the finance committee meeting, should be getting those, Monday or Tuesday to give us some time to at least review them, because some of them were, pretty thorough, and that timeline was pretty short for the council members. And, to have 5 or 6 items thrown at us at the same time is probably not efficient, but I know that there were some items that we had to get on the agenda. So for all boards and commissions, the Redevelopment Commission, Planning Commission, the Controller's Office, Fire, whoever it is, if you would like a sponsor from the City Council, but you need to get it on the agenda, please try to get those to us, a couple of days prior to the deadline, so that we have ample time to review it and not just stick our name on there to get it on there to have the conversation. So we would appreciate that, because our goal is to be productive, but it's, when it's at the nth hour, it's kind of hard for us. So again, thank you. And I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. You all have a wonderful meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful few days and stay safe out there. Thank you, everybody.
Stay healthy. Bye-bye.